We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Ben Reilly's Spider-Man Issue 1. It's a 2022 series from Marvel Comics, written by J.M. DeMatteis, David Baldeon on art, colors by Israel Silva, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna, cover art by Steve Skroce and Dave Stewart, edited by Danny Kazem, Nick Lowe, executive editor. So Ben Reilly is trying to blend in. He is not real happy. A few years ago he got recognized by J. Jonah Jameson on the street, and he didn't care for that. Now he's back in New York and convinced that he is the real Peter Parker, and he ends up out in the graveyard talking to Malcolm McBride, who is the supervillain known as Carrion. Now he ends up in a pretty knockdown drag out with him, only to find out there is something more, and it may have something to do with Ravencroft. Reilly also makes a new friend, and we're left with a cliffhanger ending that looks like an old enemy maybe returning. Overall, I thought the story was okay. It wasn't great, wasn't terrible. You do need to know quite a bit of Spider-Man lore from this time period though, because Ben Reilly is a very complex character who is sometimes a good guy, sometimes a bad guy for some reason. They can't seem to decide what to do with him since he's kicking around the Marvel Universe, and I think it could have been handled a little better, but it looks like they were trying to ham-fistedly force a storyline here, and I thought it had potential, but some of it was just a little too boring and talkative. There were some parts that really could have just been edited out, but it doesn't look like the writer had a whole lot of choices here. I did not like the art at all though. While the story was mediocre, the art was pretty bad. It looks very, very amateur in a lot of scenes. The artist doesn't seem to understand how to do facial hair, and often people's facial proportions don't match their head size in multiple ways, and there's a couple scenes where it looks like people don't have necks, but the expressions are over the top. The panels are very flat and boring most of the time. There's no change in camera angle at all. It just looks very uninspired. Really wish this had been a lot better. It had potential. Ben Reilly could be a really interesting alternate version of Peter Parker without forcing him into Spider-Man's shadow all the time, and they could make Scarlet Spider his own character, which they did pretty well when Peter David was writing that series a few years ago, but they just sort of abandoned that, and Peter David just sort of wrote off the character as, well, he's gonna be evil, and that seems to be the direction they want to take with him, like here's an evil Spider-Man. But they've watered down the Spider-Man brand and intellectual property so much with all these knockoffs like Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen, Silk, etc., etc. The list goes on way too long. If they want to keep Ben Reilly around, they should have made him just like a West Coast Spider-Man and left it at that. Then they could have their cake and eat it too. Instead, they watered the brand down so much they really don't know what to do with this character. So I'd say if you're going to read this, grab it out of a dollar bin. It was an okay read. It just really seemed kind of generic and forced as far as storytelling goes, and it could have been a lot better. The cover also kind of betrays that same sort of feel. It looks kind of boring and not really inspiring. It's just an image, and Spider-Man looks like he's in the middle of something really disturbing. I don't know what's going on there, but that's a weird position for a cover image, and his arms look way too long. So mediocrity pretty much across the board. Not really impressed, didn't love it, didn't hate it, but the art really hurt this book. That's gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.